Li Wujin checked his weapon for the third time that evening. The small plasma pistol felt strange in his hands compared to the solid weight of human firearms he was used to. But on Voidhaven Station, everyone carried alien tech. It was the rule if you wanted to work security. The diplomatic reception buzzed with activity around him. Dozens of alien species moved through the grand hall, their voices creating a symphony of clicks, whistles, and musical tones. Wujin stood near the wall watching everything with tired eyes. Another boring night of keeping drunk ambassadors from starting fights. His comm device crackled. Wujin, check the east entrance. Some VIP is arriving late. He sighed and moved through the crowd. 3 years on this station had taught him that VIP usually meant trouble. Rich aliens loved to make problems for security guards, especially human ones. Most species still saw humans as the new kids in space, barely worth notice. The east entrance opened with a soft hiss. A group of tall, graceful beings entered the hall. Wujin recognized them immediately, Luminari. Their skin glowed with a soft blue light, and their movements seemed to flow like water. At the center of the group walked a young female wearing flowing robes that sparkled like stars. Princess Velara, Wujin realized. He had seen her picture in the security briefings. The Luminari royal family was visiting to discuss trade agreements. High profile, but usually peaceful. The Luminari were known for avoiding conflicts. The princess moved toward the main gathering, surrounded by 6 tall guards in elegant armor. Their weapons looked more like art pieces than guns, all smooth curves and glowing crystals. Fancy, but Wujin wondered how well they would work in a real fight. Something felt wrong. Wujin had learned to trust his instincts during his military service on Earth. The crowd seemed normal, but there was a tension in the air. He activated his comm device. Control, this is Wujin. Everything seems quiet, but I want to run an extra security sweep. Negative. Stay at your post. Don't bother the guests. Wujin frowned but followed orders. He positioned himself where he could watch the Luminari group while staying out of their way. The princess was greeting various ambassadors, her guards maintaining a respectful distance. Then he saw them. 3 figures in dark clothing moving through the crowd with too much purpose. They were not mingling or talking to anyone. They were hunting Corvin Empire assassins. Wujin had studied their methods during his military training. They moved like shadows, using advanced stealth technology and weapons designed to kill quickly and quietly. The Corvins had been causing trouble across the galaxy, and the peaceful Luminari were perfect targets. His comm device was jammed. The assassins had cut communications. Wujin was on his own. The first assassin raised a long black weapon toward Princess Velara. Wujin did not think. He ran. Get down! He shouted, throwing himself toward the princess. His body slammed into her just as energy bolts scorched the air where she had been standing. They hit the floor hard, the princess crying out in pain and surprise. The elegant Luminari guards turned in confusion, their movements too slow. They were trained for ceremony, not combat. The second assassin's weapon hummed to life, cutting down 2 guards before they could react. Wujin rolled behind a decorative pillar, pulling the wounded princess with him. Blood ran down her arm where falling debris had cut her. Her large silver eyes stared at him in shock. Stay down, he told her, checking his plasma pistol. 3 assassins, superior weapons, and a room full of panicking civilians. Not good odds. The remaining Luminari guards finally began fighting back, but their graceful movements and energy weapons were no match for Corvin military technology. Another guard fell. His armor cracked open like an egg. Wujin needed to think like a human, not like the aliens expected. The Corvins had studied galactic military tactics for decades. They knew how every species fought, but humans were still new to space warfare. He grabbed a heavy serving tray from a nearby table and hurled it at the overhead lights. Glass and metal crashed down, plunging part of the hall into darkness. The assassins hesitated, their targeting systems confused by the sudden change. Wujin used the confusion to move. He kept low, using overturned tables and decorative sculptures as cover. The Corvins expected their enemies to stand and fight with honor. Instead, he crawled through the chaos like a soldier in a trench. The first assassin was scanning the darkness with his weapon's targeting system. Wujin came up behind him and struck with the heavy plasma pistol. The alien went down hard. Behind you, Princess Velara called out. Wujin spun and fired. The plasma bolt caught the second assassin in the chest, sending him crashing into a food display. Alien delicacies scattered across the floor. The third assassin was the smartest. He had taken cover and was firing carefully, trying to pin Wu Jin down while moving toward the princess. His shots came close enough to melt the floor near Wu Jin's feet. Wu Jin looked around desperately. Then he smiled. The hall's artificial gravity system had control panels built into the decorative pillars. Alien engineers love to hide their technology in plain sight. He shot the gravity control panel. Sparks flew, and suddenly half the room lost its artificial gravity. Debris, furniture, and screaming aliens began floating toward the ceiling. The third assassin, unprepared for the change, flailed helplessly in the air. Wu Jin had grown up in Earth's variable gravity training centers. He kicked off from the pillar and flew through the air like a missile, tackling the floating assassin. They crashed into the wall together, but Wu Jin was ready for the impact. The assassin was not. Emergency lights flickered on as station security finally arrived. The surviving Luminary guards stared at Wu Jin in amazement. Around them, the diplomatic reception looked like a war zone. Princess Velara struggled to sit up, her arm still bleeding. "You saved my life," she said quietly. "How did you know they were coming?" Wu Jin helped her to her feet, wincing at his own injuries. "I did not know. I just felt something was wrong." "Your tactics," one of the surviving guards said, his voice filled with wonder. "I have never seen anything like them. You fought like chaos itself." "I fought like a human," Wu Jin replied simply. As medical teams rushed to help the wounded, Princess Velara continued to stare at him. There was something new in her silver eyes, something that made Wu Jin uncomfortable. It looked like the beginning of an idea that would change everything. Station security began asking questions, but Wu Jin barely heard them. He was thinking about the assassin's weapons and tactics. They had been prepared for everything except what he had done. That should have been impossible. The Corvins were the best military force in the galaxy, but they had never fought a human before. In the distance, emergency signals were already traveling through space, carrying news of the failed assassination attempt. Soon, very important people would want to know exactly how one human security guard had done what an entire squad of elite luminary warriors could not. Wu Jin had no idea that his simple act of courage would soon make him the most wanted man in the galaxy. Some would want to hire him, others would want to kill him. And one ancient alien queen would decide that he belonged to her. The night was just beginning. The medical bay on Voidhaven Station had never seen so much activity. Princess Velara lay on a biobed while alien doctors worked to heal her injuries. The cuts on her arm were closing under the soft blue light of Luminary healing technology, but she barely noticed. Her attention was fixed on the human sitting in the corner. Li Wu Jin refused to leave the medical bay. Station security had questioned him for hours, but he would not go far from the princess. Something about the attack bothered him. It had been too easy for the assassins to get close. Someone had helped them. "You should rest," Princess Velara said softly. "Your injuries need attention too." Wu Jin touched the bandage on his head where debris had cut him. "I am fine. Human bodies heal fast enough." The princess studied his face. 3 days had passed since the attack, and she had spent much of that time thinking about what she had witnessed, the way he moved, the way he thought. It was unlike anything she had learned about warfare. "Tell me about human military training," she said. Wu Jin looked surprised. "Why would you want to know that?" "Because you did something impossible. My guards are trained from birth in combat. They study every known fighting style in the galaxy. But they could not stop 3 assassins. You stopped them alone. I got lucky." "No." Princess Velara sat up carefully. "Luck does not turn gravity controls into weapons. Luck does not think to attack targeting systems with serving trays. You fought like you were born in chaos." Before Wu Jin could answer, the medical bay doors opened with a sound like singing crystal. Every alien in the room immediately dropped to one knee. Princess Velara's eyes went wide. "Mother," she whispered. Queen Nalthara entered the medical bay like a force of nature. She was tall even for a luminari, her skin glowing brighter than anyone Wu Jin had ever seen. Her robes seemed to be made of liquid starlight, and her silver eyes held the weight of centuries. Power radiated from her in waves that made the air itself feel heavy. Behind her came an honor guard of 50 warriors in armor that looked like it was carved from pure energy. Their weapons hummed with contained force that could probably destroy the entire station. Wu Jin stood up slowly. He had never met alien royalty before, but he knew enough to show respect. He bowed his head slightly, the way he had been taught in diplomatic training. Queen Nalthara stopped in front of him. For a long moment she said nothing. Her ancient eyes studied him like he was a puzzle she was trying to solve. "You are the human," she said finally. Her voice was like music played on crystal chimes. "Yes, Your Majesty. Li Wujin. You saved my daughter's life. I did my job." The Queen's expression changed slightly. Something that might have been amusement flickered across her perfect features. "Your job was to watch for drunk diplomats, not to fight Corvan assassins." Plans change. Princess Velara made a small sound that might have been a laugh, quickly covered by a cough. Queen Nalthara's eyes moved to her daughter, then back to Wu Jin. "I would speak with you privately, human. My daughter as well." The medical staff and honor guards left immediately. Only the three of them remained in the suddenly quiet bay. Queen Nalthara moved closer to Wu Jin. "I am going to touch your mind. Do not resist." "Wait, what do you mean?" The Queen's hand touched his forehead, and suddenly Wu Jin felt her presence in his thoughts. It was like having the ocean flow through his brain, vast, ancient, and overwhelming. But somehow it did not hurt. Images flashed through his mind. The Queen was seeing his memories of the fight, but also his training on Earth, his childhood, his reasons for coming to space. Everything that made him human. After what felt like hours but was probably only seconds, she removed her hand. Her expression had changed completely. "Fascinating," she said quietly. "Your mind is difficult to read. Is that bad?" "It is unprecedented." Queen Nalthara began to pace, her robes flowing behind her. "For 3,000 years, my people have studied the minds of every species we encounter. We can predict their thoughts, their actions, their military strategies. It is how we have survived so long in a dangerous galaxy." Princess Velara was listening with growing interest. "But you could not predict his actions?" "His thoughts move in patterns I have never seen. They change direction without warning, follow connections that should not exist, and reach conclusions through paths that make no logical sense. Yet somehow they work." Wu Jin felt uncomfortable being discussed like a laboratory specimen. "Your Majesty, if you are done examining my brain, I should return to my duties." "No." The single word carried absolute authority. "You will not return to your duties. You will come with us." "I do not understand." Queen Nalthara stopped pacing and fixed him with those ancient silver eyes. "The attack on my daughter was part of something larger. Our intelligence sources report that the Corvan Empire is planning a major offensive against peaceful species across the galaxy. They have studied our military tactics for decades. They know how we think, how we fight, how we react to threats. But they do not know how humans think," Princess Velara said, understanding dawning in her voice. "Exactly." The Queen nodded. "Your species is too new to galactic warfare. The Corvans have no data on human military doctrine, because you have never fought in space before. That ignorance saved my daughter's life." Wu Jin was beginning to see where this was going, and he did not like it. "Your Majesty, I am just one man. I cannot fight an entire empire. You will not fight alone." Queen Nalthara's voice took on a formal tone that made the air itself seem to listen. "By royal decree of the Luminary Empire, you are hereby appointed as personal guardian to Princess Velara. You will accompany her to our homeworld, where you will help train our military forces in human tactical thinking." "Wait," Wu Jin said quickly. "I never agreed to this. I have a life here, a job. You have a higher calling now." The Queen's eyes flashed with inner fire. "The galaxy stands on the edge of war. Traditional tactics will fail against the Corvan threat. Only chaos can defeat their order. Only human unpredictability can overcome their preparations." Princess Velara spoke up quietly. "Mother, perhaps we should ask him instead of commanding him." Queen Nalthara looked at her daughter with surprise. "He is a subject now. Subjects do not choose their duties. But he is not our subject," the princess said carefully. "He is human. They have different ideas about service and loyalty." For the first time since entering the medical bay, Queen Nalthara looked uncertain. She studied Wu Jin's face as if seeing him clearly for the first time. "You would refuse a royal command?" she asked. Wu Jin met her gaze steadily. "I would prefer to be asked rather than ordered, Your Majesty. Humans fight better when we choose to fight." The silence stretched for a long moment. Finally, Queen Nalthara nodded slowly. "Very well, Li Wu Jin of Earth. Will you accept the position of guardian to my daughter and advisor to our military forces?" Wu Jin looked at Princess Velara. She was watching him with those silver eyes, but he could see something else there now. hope. She truly believed he could help her people. "I will serve," he said finally, "but I want it understood that I remain human. I will not abandon my people or my principles." Queen Nelthara smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. "I would expect nothing less. When can you be ready to leave?" "I am ready now, Your Majesty." "Good. We depart within the hour." The Queen moved toward the door, then paused. "And human, the next time assassins come for my daughter, they will find that she is protected by more than just one brave security guard. They will face the combined might of two species who refuse to be conquered." As the Queen left the medical bay, Princess Valara reached out and touched Wu Jin's hand gently. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." Wu Jin nodded, already wondering what he had gotten himself into. Behind them, through the medical bay's viewport, he could see a massive luminary warship approaching the station. His new life was about to begin, whether he was ready for it or not. The luminary flagship was unlike anything Wu Jin had ever seen. The walls seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. Corridors curved and flowed like rivers, and doors opened with a touch of thought rather than hand. Everything was beautiful, elegant, and completely confusing to human eyes. Wu Jin stood in his assigned quarters, staring at what the luminary called a bed. It looked more like a floating cloud of energy than furniture. He had been trying to figure out how to sleep on it for 20 minutes. A soft chime announced a visitor. Princess Valara entered, carrying what looked like a tray of glowing food. She had changed from her formal robes into simple training clothes that still managed to shimmer like starlight. "You have not eaten," she said, setting the tray on a table that materialized from the floor at her approach. "I am not sure how to eat any of this," Wu Jin admitted, looking at the alien food that seemed to move on its own. Princess Valara smiled. "It is energy-based nutrition. Very efficient, but I understand it looks strange to solid matter species." She touched a panel on the wall, and the glowing food transformed into something that looked almost like earth vegetables and meat. "Better?" Wu Jin nodded gratefully and sat down to eat. The food tasted like light and music, but it filled his stomach. "Thank you. I am still learning how everything works here. It will take time. Our technology is based on thought and energy manipulation. Your people use physical tools and mechanical systems, very different approaches." They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Finally, Princess Valara spoke again. "Tomorrow we begin training together. Mother wants me to learn your fighting methods. I am not sure how much I can teach you. Humans and Luminary are very different. That is exactly why it will work." She leaned forward, her silver eyes bright with interest. "Show me how you think during combat. Not the techniques, but the thought process." Wu Jin considered this. "When the assassins attacked, I did not plan anything. I just reacted to what was happening around me. I used whatever was available: gravity controls, furniture, darkness. Most soldiers are trained to follow specific tactics for specific situations. But you made new tactics in the moment." "I suppose so. Humans call it improvisation. We are good at changing plans when the original plan fails." Princess Valara nodded thoughtfully. Luminary warriors train for centuries to perfect predetermined forms of combat. We study every possible scenario and prepare responses for each one. But you created scenarios that do not exist in our training. Maybe that is why it worked. The next morning, Wu Jin found himself in the ship's training facility. The room was enormous, with walls that could project any environment the user wanted. Currently, it showed a peaceful meadow under alien stars, but Wu Jin knew appearances could be deceiving. Princess Valara arrived wearing form-fitting armor that seemed to be made of solidified light. She carried weapons that looked more like jewelry than instruments. Of war, a staff that hummed with energy and gauntlets that sparked with contained lightning. Traditional luminary combat gear, she explained, designed for precision and power. Wu Jin wore his old Earth military armor and carried weapons that looked primitive by comparison. His assault rifle was heavy and crude next to her elegant energy staff. But he had requested them specifically. "Show me how you would attack this position," Princess Valara said, pointing to a simulated enemy fortress that appeared in the center of the room. Wu Jin studied the target. It was a typical defensive structure. High walls, energy shields, multiple weapon emplacements. Any military academy in the galaxy would have standard approaches for such a target. "First, tell me how a Luminari would attack it," he said. Princess Valara moved with fluid grace, demonstrating classic tactics. She would disable the shields with precision energy strikes, breach the walls at predetermined weak points, and advance through the structure using coordinated team movements. It was beautiful, efficient, and exactly what any defender would expect. "Your turn," she said. Wu Jin looked at the fortress again, then walked to the edge of the training room. He began moving equipment around. "Training dummies, exercise weights, even decorative plants. What are you doing?" Princess Valara asked. "Changing the battlefield." Wu Jin stacked the equipment into a crude ramp leading to the fortress walls. "Why attack the fortress when you can go around it?" He demonstrated by climbing his improvised ramp and dropping into the fortress from above, completely bypassing the defensive weapons that were aimed outward. Princess Valara stared at him. "But that is, you used furniture as a siege ladder. I used what was available. The fortress was designed to stop traditional attacks, so I did not attack traditionally." For the next several hours, they continued training. Wu Jin showed her how to use the environment as a weapon, how to create distractions and diversions, how to make the enemy's strengths into weaknesses. Princess Valara proved to be a quick learner, adapting her precise luminary techniques to include human-style chaos. "Try again," Wu Jin said, resetting the simulation. "But this time, do not think like a luminary warrior. Think like someone who has never seen this fortress before." Princess Valara approached the simulation differently this time. Instead of studying the defensive positions, she looked at everything else: the terrain, the weather patterns, even the time of day. She noticed that the fortress's energy shields created electromagnetic interference that affected nearby electronics. Using her staff like a lightning rod, she redirected the shield energy back into the fortress's own systems, overloading them and creating a cascade failure that brought down all the defenses at once. "Excellent," Wu Jin said, genuinely impressed. "You turned their own weapons against them." "It felt strange," Princess Valara admitted, "like thinking sideways instead of forward." "That is exactly right. Humans are very good at thinking sideways." Their training was interrupted by an urgent alarm. The ship's captain, a stern luminary named Koltar, appeared on the communication screen. "Your Highness, we have received a distress signal from the Altair colony. They are under attack by Corvan forces." Princess Valara's expression hardened. "How long until we arrive?" 6 hours at maximum speed. "But Highness, our intelligence suggests this is a major assault. Multiple Corvan battleships and support vessels. We should call for reinforcements. There is no time. The colony will be destroyed before help arrives." She looked at Wu Jin. What would a human do? Wu Jin thought quickly. "How many ships do we have?" "Just this flagship and 2 escort vessels," Captain Koltar replied. "And the Corvans?" "At least 12 warships plus troop transports." The odds were impossible by any normal calculation. But Wu Jin was beginning to understand that normal calculations did not apply when humans were involved. "We go anyway," he said. "But not the way they expect us to," Princess Valara nodded. "Explain." "The Corvans know luminary tactics. They will be prepared for a direct assault or a defensive holding action, so we do neither. We make them think we are retreating while actually setting a trap." Captain Koltar looked skeptical. "With 3 ships against 12? Impossible." "Not impossible," Princess Valara said, her voice carrying new confidence. "Just unpredictable." As the flagship changed course toward the Altair colony, Wu Jin and Princess Valara worked together to plan their impossible rescue mission. She provided knowledge of luminary technology and capabilities, while he contributed human tactical thinking that turned conventional wisdom upside down. For the first time since leaving Voidhaven Station, Wu Jin felt like he was exactly where he belonged, not because he was ordered to be there, but because he chose to be there. And beside him, Princess Valara was becoming something new, not just a traditional luminary royal, but a leader who could bridge the gap between ancient wisdom and chaotic innovation. The Altair colony was counting on them to do the impossible. Fortunately, impossible was starting to feel like a very human specialty. The Altair colony burned beneath a red sky. From the bridge of the luminary flagship, Wu Jin watched Corvan warships circle the planet like hungry predators. Their dark hulls bristled with weapons that could glass entire continents. Against such firepower, 3 luminary ships seemed like insects challenging a storm. "Status report," Princess Valara commanded. She stood at the center of the bridge, no longer the sheltered royal who had attended diplomatic receptions. Combat had changed her into something harder, more focused. 12 Corvin battleships as expected, Captain Coulthard reported. They have established orbital bombardment positions. Colony shields are failing. Estimated time before total collapse, Wu Jin asked. 2 hours, maybe less. Princess Valara turned to Wu Jin. Show them chaos. Wu Jin nodded and moved to the tactical display. The battle plan they had developed during the journey was insane by every military standard in the galaxy. It relied on the Corvins making logical decisions based on superior firepower and numbers. Begin transmission, Wu Jin ordered. The main screen lit up with the face of a Corvin commander. The alien's scarred features twisted into what might have been amusement when he saw the small luminary force. I am Commander Zethkol of the Corvin Third Fleet. You are outnumbered 4-1. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift. Princess Valara stepped forward. I am Princess Valara of the Luminari. We demand you cease your attack on innocent civilians. The Corvin commander laughed, a harsh sound like breaking glass. The great Luminari princess, your people's predictable honor will be your downfall. Again. Perhaps, Princess Valara said calmly. But first let me introduce my military advisor. Wu Jin stepped into view of the transmission. The Corvin commander's expression changed instantly. Recognition and something that might have been fear flickered across his alien features. The ghost tactician, Commander Zethkol said quietly. The human who defeated our assassins on Voidhaven Station. Word of Wu Jin's unconventional victory had spread across the galaxy faster than he had expected. Apparently, stopping a perfect Corvin operation with furniture and gravity controls had made quite an impression. I offer you the same choice you gave us, Wu Jin said. Surrender now and we might let you live. Commander Zethkol's scarred face twisted into rage. You think one lucky human can defeat the might of the Corvin Empire? You will watch your princess die screaming. The transmission ended. Princess Valara looked at Wu Jin with concern. Are you certain this will work? She asked quietly. No, Wu Jin admitted. But being certain is overrated. The Corvin fleet began moving toward them in perfect formation. Their tactics were flawless. A textbook example of overwhelming force applied with mathematical precision. They would surround the Luminari ships, destroy the escorts first, then capture the flagship to take Princess Valara alive, exactly as Wu Jin had hoped they would. All ships, execute retreat pattern Omega, Princess Valara ordered. The 3 Luminari vessels turned away from the planet and began fleeing at maximum speed. To the Corvins, it looked like the expected response. Outnumbered enemies running for their lives. They are pursuing as predicted, Captain Coulthard reported. All 12 ships are breaking orbit. Perfect. Begin Phase 2. The Luminari ships led the Corvin fleet on a chase through the outer system. They moved just fast enough to stay ahead of their pursuers, but slow enough to make it look like their engines were damaged. Every few minutes they would fire a few desperate shots backward, exactly like fleeing enemies would do. The Corvins took the bait completely. Their formation spread out to prevent the Luminari ships from escaping, leaving their own vessels isolated from mutual support. Now, Wu Jin said. Princess Valara raised her hand, and suddenly the space around them filled with light. Dozens of Luminari fighter craft decloaked, having been hidden in the sensor shadows of asteroids and debris. But these were not normal fighters. Each small craft carried a single Luminari pilot who had spent the last 6 hours learning human tactics from remote training programs. They attacked in patterns that no Corvin computer could predict, diving from impossible angles using debris as weapons, coordinating in ways that looked like pure chaos but were actually carefully orchestrated disorder. The Corvin fleet tried to respond with their standard defensive formations, but the attacks came from directions their algorithms said were impossible. A Luminari fighter used an asteroid's gravity to slingshot directly through a battleship's shields. Another pilot fired not at enemy ships but at space debris, turning harmless rocks into guided missiles. Phase 3, Princess Valara ordered. The 3 Luminari capital ships suddenly reversed direction, diving back toward the planet at full speed. But instead of engaging the confused Corvin fleet directly, they split up and began attacking the troop transports that had been left in orbit. Commander Zethkol's voice crackled over the communication system. Impossible. Our battle computers show no tactical scenario matching this attack pattern. That is because we are not following any scenario, Princess Valara replied calmly. We are making it up as we go. The battle turned into a nightmare for the Corvan forces. Every time they adapted to one impossible tactic, the Luminari switched to something even more unpredictable. Fighters used damaged ships as battering rams. Capital ships fired through their own allies, trusting them to dodge at the last second. Combat maneuvers that should have been suicidal worked because no one expected them. Within an hour, 8 Corvan battleships were destroyed or crippled. The remaining 4 fled the system, carrying news of their impossible defeat. Princess Velara stood on the bridge, watching rescue ships descend toward the Altair colony. The planet was saved, its people alive because 3 ships had defeated 12 through the power of thinking differently. "We did it," she said quietly. "Yes," Wu Jin replied. "And now we have a bigger problem." She looked at him with concern. "What do you mean?" Captain Coulthar provided the answer. "Communications are flooding in from across the galaxy. News of our victory is spreading faster than light-speed transmissions. Every species wants to know how we achieve the impossible." Princess Velara's personal communicator chimed with an urgent message. She read it quickly, then looked up with worry in her silver eyes. "The Galactic Council is demanding a full investigation into our tactics. Several neutral species are calling our methods uncivilized and dangerous to galactic stability." "And?" Wu Jin asked. "The Corvan Empire has formally demanded your extradition. They claim you are a war criminal for using barbaric human tactics against civilized warfare." Wu Jin felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. "What does that mean?" "It means," Princess Velara said slowly, "that saving lives and defeating evil might not be enough. Politics is more complicated than warfare." Another message arrived, this one marked with Queen Nalthara's personal seal. Princess Velara read it twice before speaking. "Mother is recalling us to the homeworld immediately. She says there are developments we need to discuss. Good developments or bad developments. With my mother, it is often difficult to tell the difference." As the Luminari flagship prepared to leave the Altair system, Wu Jin stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the surviving Corvan ships were carrying news of humanity's military potential. Other species were probably already debating whether humans were valuable allies or dangerous threats. He had wanted to serve with honor and protect innocent lives. Instead, he seemed to have started a galactic controversy that could change the balance of power across known space. Princess Velara moved to stand beside him at the viewing port. "Do you regret it?" she asked quietly. Wu Jin thought about the Altair colony's children who would grow up because of what they had done today. "No, but I have a feeling the easy part is over." "The easy part?" "Fighting the enemy. Now we have to deal with our friends." Princess Velara nodded sadly. In the distance, hyperspace lanes carried ships and messages in all directions, spreading the story of the impossible victory and the human who had made it happen. Some of those messages carried congratulations, others carried warnings, and some, Wu Jin suspected, carried orders that would test everything he believed about duty, loyalty, and the price of doing what was right. The throne room of the Luminari homeworld stretched out like a crystal cathedral. Pillars of living light reached toward a ceiling that showed the swirling galaxy above. Queen Nalthara sat on a throne that seemed to be carved from a single massive star, her presence filling the enormous space with power that made the air itself hum. Wu Jin stood before her, still wearing his battle-worn human armor. Princess Velara knelt beside him in the formal pose of a Luminari royal making a petition. Around them, hundreds of courtiers and military officers watched in perfect silence. "Rise, my daughter," Queen Nalthara said, her voice echoing like distant thunder. "And you as well, Li Wu Jin of Earth." They stood. Wu Jin kept his eyes fixed on the Queen's ancient face, trying to read her expression. After 3 days of traveling to the Luminari homeworld, he still had no idea whether he was about to be honored or arrested. "Your victory at Altair Colony has caused quite a stir," the Queen continued. "The Galactic Council meets in emergency session. Several species demand restrictions on human military involvement. Others request immediate alliance treaties." "And the Corvan Empire?" Princess Velara asked. "Commander Zethkol has been executed for his failure. The Corvan High Command is mobilizing their entire fleet. They consider humanity an existential threat to their expansion plans." Wu Jin felt his stomach drop. "Your Majesty, I never intended to start a war." "But you have," Queen Nalthara said simply. "The question now is whether we will fight that war together or separately." She gestured, and holographic displays filled the air around them. Star maps showed Corvin fleet movements across a dozen systems. Intelligence reports detailed massive military buildups. Population counts showed billions of innocent beings in the path of the coming storm. The Corvin Empire has decided to end the human threat before it can spread. They are gathering allies among species who fear your chaotic influence. Within one standard month, they will launch simultaneous attacks on Earth and every human colony. The silence in the throne room became absolute. Wu Jin stared at the tactical displays, seeing the impossible odds. Humanity had perhaps 50 ships capable of interstellar combat. The Corvin Alliance would bring thousands, however, Queen Nalthara continued. They have made one critical error. They assume this will be a conventional war fought by conventional rules. Princess Velara stepped forward. Mother, what are you proposing? Total alliance between our species. Every human military advisor working with Luminari commanders. Every Luminari psychic network linked to human tactical thinking. The complete integration of order and chaos. Wu Jin felt the trap closing around him. And the price for this alliance? Queen Nalthara's silver eyes fixed on him with the weight of centuries. You will renounce your Earth citizenship and accept permanent residence as a Luminari subject. You will serve as Supreme Military Coordinator for the combined fleet, and you will never return to human space. The words hit Wu Jin like a physical blow. Everything he was, everything he had been, tied to his humanity and his homeworld. To give that up would be to become something else entirely. I need time to consider, he said carefully. Time is a luxury we do not have. I require your answer now. Princess Velara suddenly moved between them. Mother, this is wrong. The Queen's expression hardened. Explain yourself. You taught me that strength forced upon others becomes weakness. If we compel his loyalty, we destroy the very thing that makes him valuable. Princess Velara's voice grew stronger as she spoke. His humanity is not something to be owned. It is something to be honored. The alliance requires symbolic unity. He must choose our people over his own. No, Wu Jin said quietly. Both women turned to look at him. There is a third option. Queen Nalthara raised an eyebrow. Speak, temporary alliance. I serve as long as the Corvin threat exists, but I remain human. When the war ends, I choose freely whether to stay or go home. Wu Jin took a deep breath. And Princess Velara commands the combined fleet, not me. The throne room erupted in surprised murmurs. Queen Nalthara raised her hand for silence. My daughter has no experience commanding large fleet operations. She has something better, Wu Jin said. She thinks like both a Luminari and a human now. She can bridge our peoples without abandoning either one. Princess Velara stared at him in shock. Wu Jin, I cannot ask you to give up the command position. You are not asking. I am choosing. He turned back to Queen Nalthara. Your Majesty, forced loyalty is no loyalty at all, but freely chosen service is stronger than any chain. For a long moment, the Queen said nothing. Then her expression shifted into something that might have been respect. And if I refuse your terms, then humanity fights alone, and loses alone. But we lose as free beings, not as subjects. The silence stretched until it became painful. Finally, Queen Nalthara smiled. Very well. Temporary alliance it is. She stood, her robes flowing like liquid starlight. But know this, Li Wu Jin of Earth. When this war ends, I will ask you again to stay. And next time, I will not command. I will plead. 3 weeks later, the largest fleet in galactic history assembled in the Vega system. 200 Luminari ships formed a perfect geometric pattern around 50 human vessels that moved in clusters that looked almost random. At the center, Princess Velara's command ship coordinated both forces through a psychic technological link that had never been attempted before. Wu Jin stood on the bridge beside her, watching scanner displays that showed the approaching Corvin armada. 3,000 enemy ships moved in perfect formation, confident in their overwhelming numbers and superior firepower. They expect us to meet them in traditional battle formation, Princess Velara said. Then we do exactly what they do not expect. Wu Jin replied. Princess Velara closed her eyes and reached out through the psychic network. Across the combined fleet, human military advisors felt her presence touch their minds. For the first time in galactic history, hundreds of human tactical minds were linked together through alien telepathy. The result was beautiful chaos. The combined fleet scattered in 1,000 directions at once. Ships dove through asteroid fields, hid behind moons, used gravity wells as slingshots. Some vessels powered down completely and drifted like debris. Others accelerated to ramming speed toward empty space. The Corvin fleet tried to respond, but their battle computers could not track so many random movements. Their perfect formation began to break apart as commanders tried to pursue targets that made no logical sense. "Now," Princess Velara whispered. The scattered ships suddenly moved with unified purpose, but instead of attacking the Corvin fleet directly, they surrounded it. Every human innovation of the past month came into play at once. Asteroid bombardments, gravity weapons, ships used as guided missiles, attacks from directions that should have been impossible. The Battle of Vega lasted 18 hours. When it ended, the Corvin Empire had lost 2/3 of their fleet. Their surviving ships fled toward home, carrying news that would shake their civilization to its core. Humanity was no longer just another species to be conquered. They were something new, something dangerous, something that could not be predicted or controlled. As the combined fleet celebrated their impossible victory, Wu Jin found himself standing alone on an observation deck. Princess Velara joined him, still glowing faintly from the psychic effort of commanding the battle. "The war is over," she said quietly. "The Corvin Empire will not threaten anyone for decades." "Yes, so now you must choose. Stay with us or return to your people." Wu Jin looked out at the mixed fleet of human and luminary ships. Crews from both species were working together, sharing technology and tactics, building something greater than either could achieve alone. "I choose to stay," he said finally, "not as a subject but as a partner. Someone has to teach the next generation how to fight with chaos and wisdom together." Princess Velara smiled, the expression lighting up her silver eyes like stars. "I was hoping you would say that." As their ships prepared for the journey home, Wu Jin realized that home itself had changed. It was no longer just Earth or the luminary worlds. It was wherever beings chose to stand together against the darkness, free and united in their difference. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Sometimes the best way to find strength was to embrace the chaos of choice.